All right, hell yeah. So this video is showing how to make some harder chines. And so what we have NRS Minisil foam, and it's 3 inches thick, and I got a 1 foot section, and I chopped it into a square 3 by 3 inch block. All right, hell yeah. Here's that 3 inch by 3 inch, and these are 2 feet long. You can get them as long as you want, but I'm just showing you how I've slotted them in. Booyah. And then I slotted them. So it starts here, goes till I have four drain holes that are free. So these two blocks go from there to there, and so that's 2 feet long. And then I have another one over there. And so we'll take a look at the underside, but I just really wanted to show you this profile. And now this profile is almost very similar to like double railed kayaks. So Jackson's kind of the only one that I started to follow, so I'll reference them the most. Not that all the other kayaking as an industry has technology that they're using, across the board. I don't think there's anything new per se per company, and so. And so the other thing that we have is a runner down the middle. I'll flip it over to show. And sorry, this is sideways, but yeah, that really bubbles up. So this is kind of the next experiment, because I was experimenting with just pushing out this middle I-beam so that's where you even see, like right here, the middle I-beam's pushed out, they're connected. And so we don't have like a very slanted taper at all. But this is completely different, where the middle I-beam is being pushed out, but because of this, it really wants to push out on that beam right there. And I think that's for a benefit. I really want to experiment with the design where you would actually have the middle I-beam removed, where that would be where your water would dump out. And for other reasons too. For purling the boat, I think you want to purl the boat right underneath. You want a catching surface, something that purls the boat right underneath. When the water catches the outside tube, what happens is it goes up and around the boat, engulfs it, and flips it. And so if you can have that dynamic, and that's why even a cataract even a paddle cat is more stable, because if that dynamic happens, that water kind of flushes in a circle instead of taking this whole round boat. A round boat is kind of like a board, and so if you do get that tube to suck, it definitely flips. And I'm sure I'm doing that motion the wrong way, but hell yeah. And then this is just from a physics standpoint what I want. When you are edged on the boat, you have two surfaces that are far apart. Over here, we would have this surface right there, and then we would have more of a, it is stair-stepped. If you're on this tube, then you're going to be maybe on these three thwarts, where here is this might be more extreme, where if I'm over onto this edge, now I'm onto those two tubes. But you can see it is very extreme that this would be the angle of the boat. So if I did pop over onto this double surface, this part of the boat's out of the water. But I think this actually has better benefits to have a raised tube right here, I'm hoping, is because once you do get onto this edge, maybe you could actually drive faster through the water. Over here, what I'm trying to do is lean out as far onto this tube as possible just to reduce the drag. And I don't think it's ideal. I think what you want to be doing is putting your boat, on a flat planing surface, getting rid of the shear. R1 rafts just have a tremendous amount of surface area which catch and pull current. And so to be able to edge onto a surface, and surfaces that are either flat, planing, or kind of this double runner. And so that looks pretty flat planing, even though it has the double runner. But hell yeah, just really wanted to show that profile. I've not tested this at all. And so let's flip this boat over to show you what we got. All right, so we got the boat flipped over, and I'll probably deflate a little bit of this and maybe grab some more light. All right, so I'll pull this out, but this is fully rockered this way. Flat on top, and so it actually kind of hooks in flat with the the thwarts. And I don't mind this being in here. You know, one foot's on one side of the boat, the other foot's on the other. I have been paddling with a beam in the middle, and I have, it was even wood at one point across here, and I never even dug my knee into it. But this is now, this is the construction foam, pink construction foam that you get for insulation, 2-inch foam. And then I'll show you what else we have on that. But this is that Minisil foam, 3 inches by 3 inches. And the other aspect of this is my foot can get totally entrapped into that gap. This boat has the largest gap, but it's just kind of interesting that even on the RMR Thundercloud, I would probably put these in and maybe find even a way to kind of, you know, attach them from the other side. Like, I think all you would have to do is have some sort of inserts and then some sort of, like, you know, even how these thread or screw in. I mean, you could just, you know, put these on the other side. That is, that's not as low profile as you'd want. But anyway, you have the ability to sandwich foam between the floor, and I think it does two things. One, it prevents your foot from going into that crevice, even though, like right here, I'll have to experiment with this, whether I, you know, do a full runner and then have foam right there and there and there, and so like my foot has somewhere to catch and it can still drain. That's one aspect. But really, when you throw your foot into this corner, I definitely liked the RMR Paddle Cat where you don't have any foot entrapments, especially with spinning and doing tricks. Never is my feet getting caught, and that was a benefit. When you're doing spin tricks and your feet are getting caught into these corners, it really messes up your timing, where high siding and movement is more important. And so I've also taken out all the material that keeps my feet from going this way. And so we do actually have a big gap through here. So we'll actually have to keep an eye on that. And that's kind of interesting, but I'm glad we did get rid of that material because now we are able to open up a big gap. And I think that was preventing me from pushing out the floor farther. And so even though the boat does have an entrapment issue, we have our valves open, and so we can always deflate. Our valves are on the inner compartment. I recommend that for R1ers. Your knee can bash up against here, so that kind of sucks. I think, you know, even just throwing a little bit of foam around there, just kind of a glued chunk of foam would be tip top. And that's kind of for a separate video. But if you're an R1 boater, that's, you know, this is probably for most people though. You're taking your sport to the extreme. When you're smashing big waves, your body is going to get smashed into whatever components of the boat that you have, and you can do some serious damage, especially, you know, bones on hard material, you know, shins up against those. That is a place of injury. Okay, hell yeah. So we got those. Let's deflate stuff. But yeah, you can really see how much that pushes down on the floor and maybe pops this thing up. So hell yeah. So we got that. And this has a nice profile. Get where you can see. Sorry, the lighting's just awful. But yeah, so we have a nice round shape, just a bunch of foam. A lot of this is Harbor Freight foam. Hell yeah. And then we have that piece of 2-inch foam. So yeah, this is just Harbor Freight floor mats. So you can get floor mats for pretty cheap. And then let's deflate the floor. And so you can kind of see that these are 3-inch foam chunks. And it really makes that separation. And so we'll try to pull some of these out. Oh yeah. And the square's best, you know what I mean? Because if it's long and you try to jam it in, it's going to work its way out. Where having something square, it can't really work. It's kind of more of like throwing in a rounded chunk. And square actually probably is the best because it holds, for this boat, it holds itself in there. Okay, so hell yeah. So that's what we have. You can get this stuff. They'll fold it when they mail it to you, or you pay for extra. But you can get this to be 4 feet long. So you could get, You know what I mean? You could easily do a full runner. But like I said, you're going to have your drain holes free. And so I was even thinking about using, we've been using this great stuff, for a lot of the foaming. And maybe I'll just pop this forward just a little bit. And so here's the homemade boat. And what we have is we got 2-inch construction foam underneath that. And then we just layered the Harbor Freight foam with the great stuff. And so that stuff is just rock solid and bomber. And so if I used some of the Harbor Freight floor mats, I could, put strips of floor mats underneath there and then glue this foam to it. And then still have openings for those drain holes. I guess there's a lot of ways to do it, actually, because it actually seems like the most... Well, I don't know, because if this foam goes in there like that, you basically need chunks that fit in between. So you need 3-inch by 3-inch little blocks that fit in between those, but you still need them all connected together, so in the event of a flip, they're not just going to go floating down the river. But that's about it. Really, just those 3-inch little blocks in between the drain holes. So I'll have to think about that, because I got another two sets of these that I can easily just do that, put them in between. But my idea, I don't even know if my idea was sound at all, but it needs some sort of runner to kind of hold them together. So you know what I mean? Whether that runner's on top, it can't be on the bottom because that's where the holes are. I'll have to think about that. Basically, just throw it in and you're just separating that out. And then it's 3 inches, so when your foot hits it, it's got something to hit against. Still drainage, and it pushes out the floor. And so it's just an incredibly simple way to modify a boat. Okay, we are thoroughly done with this video. So hell yeah, thanks for joining me. Booyah.